Good evening. First of all, thank you for coming out. We are so thrilled to see each of you here. My name is Loretta Parham, and I am CEO and director of this Atlanta University Center Woodruff Library, and thrilled to be here with you. So the art crawl, which is why we are here. The art crawl was the brainchild of one of our staff members, Mr. Jamal Ware. We have so much beautiful art throughout the building. Whenever we conduct general tours, the art is a common source of inquiry. Through tremendous collaboration from staff of all of our departments, tonight's event has come to fruition. And we could not be more ecstatic to welcome you to the first art crawl of the Atlanta University Center Woodruff Library. Yeah, I like that. Interest in the art in the building began with our 2010 renovation. Now, any of you who knew this place back in the day, when you came in the main floor, I hope you were pleasantly surprised because it was totally changed. We touched every aspect of this building except this room. And not on my script, but I'm going to share with you, renovation of this room is in order and it's coming this year. So that's a great thing. But it began with the 2010 renovation and the creation of the Knowledge and Arts Initiative, which was originally conceptualized by Mrs. J. Delsart, wife of the late and renowned artist Louis Delsart. Jay served as the inaugural chair of the Knowledge and Arts Initiative Advisory Committee, followed by artist and scholar Dr. Amalia Amaki, who served as curator for the initiative. The vision we had was to promote student pride and ownership of the library, and inspire student thought and conversations through the visual arts. You've probably been in plenty of libraries that just had walls and books, but there's more to this story. As you will see, the collected and loaned art represent a spectrum of disciplines: sculpture, paintings, drawings, and photography. The library's Knowledge and Arts Initiative works with local artists who graciously loan works to the library for display on an annual or biannual basis. Because of the initiative, the library has grown its own collection with periodic acquisitions from the loaned works. But I must say that this interest in the visual arts is an important tool and resource to our mission. Our mission is to provide information for the support of teaching and learning, global scholarship, and cultural preservation. And we do this, for example, through a program the library has, which is called GLAM. GLAM stands for Galleries, Libraries, Archives, and Museums. This project began in 2016, and it provides training and support for our college faculties in ways to incorporate original art, primary archival materials, and object-based learning into the curriculum across the disciplines. Through GLAM, the library works closely with the Spelman College of Museum of Fine Arts and the Clark Atlanta University Art Museum by exposing more of those collections and more of those collections which are held also in the library's Archives Research Center. We know, because students, faculty, and visitors have told us, that the art on these walls makes a difference for student learning and faculty scholarship. And it is seen as a good thing by the community outside of the AUC walls as well. Another reason we invited you here tonight, besides having a glass of wine or a sparkling water and hearing wonderful panelists and viewing the art, and even participating in some of the materials which the Archives Research Center has on display in the Archives Reading Room behind us. Another reason is to announce an opportunity for you to join or renew membership in the library's Friends Council. The purpose of the Friends Council, quite simply, is to develop a strategic network of supporters and activities that will aid in the support of this library in its mission and activities. Our Friends Council was created more than 10 years ago, but like many other organizations, it now finds itself in 2022 in a post-pandemic state. We have to change. And so the current members of the council have agreed to reconfigure and to place a greater emphasis, a greater focus on 3 signature activities, namely a gala for fundraising. Now you saw this building. Just imagine if we took it over the top, what a great event this would be. Number 2, a presence and support of AUC students during the trauma of midterms and exams. The Friends Council always provides snacks for them, and that helps them to get over, I think. Is that a good thing? It's all right. And third, the encouragement through the network of our Friends Council of donor gifts, collections, and bequests from the general public. We are looking to expand and to diversify the Friends Council such that it is more representative of the ATL and the AUC community. We need your help. We need your help in planning a gala fundraiser and in executing the signature activities that I've just listed. I hope that we can count on many of you to join and help. I ask that you step up and become part of our story. Each of you should have received a card with information on how to join. If not, please visit the registration desk downstairs or speak with any one of the staff that you'll find in the building for further information, or call me. I'll be glad to help. I hope that you can see yourself as a member of the Friends Council and a contributor to the success of the AU Center and its Woodruff Library. I do want to very quickly acknowledge the fact that some of our artists are actually here today. I do know that Steve Allen is here, who gifted us with a wonderful collection. Steve, if you just wave your hand if you're in the room. There he is, yes. Olympic artist. There will be an event next year in recognition of a wonderful gift that Steve Allen also gave to the library just this past year. Jim Alexander. Yes. Oh. In that characteristic beret. Fahuma Paku. Sue Ross. And Otto Ribeiro. Yes. And again, as I said earlier, we do want to appreciate and recognize Mrs. J. Del Sart and thank her for all of her support of our initiative. If we have missed any artists whose works are on display in our library, please stand and be acknowledged at this time. Tell me who you are. That's a good partner. I also very quickly would want to certainly acknowledge and thank the entire staff of the Woodruff Library. Nothing we do here is done by any I. There's no I in this shop. So I do want to thank every member of the team, and especially make note certainly of the leadership for this effort given by Andrea Jackson-Gavin, by Carolyn Hart, by Jamal Ware, and by Martina Dodd. And certainly we want to thank Warren Huntley for food and decor, which you will see downstairs. With that, I am now going to turn this podium over to Martina Dodd. She is Program Director for Curation and Object-Based Learning for the library. The GLAM project is her baby. And she is also chair of the library's Art Programming Working Group. And she will introduce our moderator and the roundtable. Enjoy the evening, and thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. This is a very exciting evening and event. I love that everyone has come out, and I'm excited to hear from our panelists, as well as enjoy the many other sessions that we have today. I just want to briefly let you know a few things that's happening today. So after this talk, we will have another talk by Dr. Fahamu Peku, and Karen Comer Lowe. That will start at 7. We also have across the hall, the Archives Research Center. They have pulled out a special viewing for you to see materials in the collection related to art. On the lower level, we have a virtual reality experience so that you can see some of the other gems in the Archives Research Center in a 360 viewing experience. We have a celloist on that floor as well. A DJ will be on the main floor all night, and there will be tours on every floor. The next 2 tours will be at 6:30 and 7:30. So thank you again for coming. So I would like to introduce our moderator for today's panel, and it is Liz Andrews. Liz Andrews is an artist, curator, museum professional, and leader who is dedicated to the arts and social justice. She is the executive director of the Spelman College Museum of Fine Art, the only museum in the nation dedicated to uplifting art by and about women of the African diaspora. Andrews holds a BA in American Studies from the Wesleyan University, an MA in Arts Politics from NYU Trist School of Arts, and a PhD in Cultural Studies from George Mason University. So let's give a hand clap to our moderator and panelists.
Thank you, Martina, and thank you to the AUC Woodruff Library for putting together this incredible event tonight. I mean, you've got so many things going on, and this panel alone is, we've got some heavy hitters in the building, so I'm very excited for this. And thank you also for your continued collaboration with the Spelman College Museum of Fine Art, as well as the Clark Atlanta Museum, because it's really an ecosystem here, and I think we all do better when we're working together, so I really appreciate your collaborative spirit. So, we have 4 incredible artists on the stage, and I'll do a brief intro for each of them, and then they will speak for a little bit about their art, and then we'll get into a conversation. Sound all right? Okay. On the far right, we have Atu Ribeiro, and he is a multidisciplinary artist working in a variety of media, including sculptural installation, drawing, and printmaking. He is currently a 2021-22 artist in residence at Mint Gallery, really close by. His work is in the permanent collection of the Mercedes-Benz USA headquarters, Detroit Institute of Art, Cranbrook Art Museum, and some private collections. So we're really lucky to have him here, and he is sitting next to someone who needs no introduction for many people. You had to, if you walked in this room, you had to walk past the photographs of the legendary Jim Alexander, who I believe we just realized has been working in photography for 70-ish years now. And yes, legend in the building. Jim Alexander is an award-winning documentary photographer who has spent over 50 years refining what he calls the art of documentary photography. A photojournalist, teacher, activist, media consultant, and entrepreneur, Alexander has amassed an impressive collection of images of Black culture and human rights photographs. And make sure you look at his images on your way out today. And next to him, we have Charmaine Minifield. The work of art and activist Charmaine Minifield is rooted in womanist social theory and ancestral veneration. So much love from Spelman College Museum, right up our alley. It draws from, yes, please, definitely applause for that. It draws from indigenous traditions as seen throughout Africa and the diaspora to explore African and African American history, memory, and ritual as an intentional push back against erasure. So thank you for your work. And finally, last but not least, the incredible Tina Dunkley. Tina Dunkley is a mixed media artist whose work represents a spectrum of ideas and observations, narrative and abstract. The images evoke an abiding appreciation for humanity and their belief systems that provide agency to thrive, create, and celebrate. I'm so excited for this panel, and we'll let each of the artists speak about their work and their practice, and then we'll get into a conversation. So if it's all right with you, Atu, we'll begin.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Thank you all for coming, and I'm enamored to be right here with y'all because this is incredible. But my name is Atu Ribeiro. I am a visual artist practicing in a variety of media, but primarily in sculptural installation right now. And just a little context background, I grew up in Ghana, West Africa, and came here for high school. And two of my older brothers went to Morehouse, so I didn't have a chance, really. And I knew I was coming. My mom forced us all to go to Morehouse, so this is like a rite of passage for all of us. And this place really shaped a lot of the things that I reflect on in my practice. But moving on, I went back to Ghana in between graduating from Morehouse in fine arts in 2012, and did some work there and went to grad school at Cranbrook Academy of Art, just north of Detroit, in printmaking. So I got my MFA in printmaking. And a lot of my work kind of deals with me exploring or bridging my West African heritage with my African American identity in Western culture. So in terms of print or thinking about disseminating information to publics in a democratic way, I would focus a lot of my practice on ways people of African descent have talked to each other through textiles, but I use repurposed wood to do it, and that's what I've been doing a lot recently. And it's just ironic sitting here and just reflecting on the time at Morehouse, because this is where I learned a lot of that resourcefulness and a lot of that there are no excuses, find a way to make it happen kind of thing. And just sitting here next to y'all reminds me of just how special this place kind of is, because when you go through the art department while you're here, you're introduced to so many people that look like you, different versions of you that are practicing in the field, and you have such close proximity to them that you get to engage in a field in a way that feels like you're part of with family. So this returning and being here with y'all is really special for me, so I appreciate it. Let me see, what else can I tell you all about my practice? Or let us go through first and we can just say the rest.
I guess I turned it on. My first experience with a camera was in boot camp in the Navy in 1952. Shooting dice in the back of the building. For I rolled a 10, and this guy says, bet you $10 you can't make it. I rolled a 10. I didn't have $10. He didn't either. I rolled a 10. I said, give me my $10. He said, wait a minute. Off. He came back, he had this little yellow box. He said, here, this is the camera. My mother made me bring it. I ain't taking no pictures. Hold this till payday, and I'll give you your $10. I said, okay. Payday came around, we only got $10. He said, just keep it. He says, I'm not going to shoot no pictures. So I started shooting pictures of the guys for 50 cents. It only cost me 6 cents a piece to get the pictures printed, so that kept me in beer money, because I had 2 IDs. One said I was 21, and I think I looked about 12. But you could still go over in the social club and drink beer. So anyway, that's another story, too. And after I came out of the Navy, while I was in the Navy, I shot a lot of pictures all over. and overseas in different places. When I came out of the Navy, I had to get a little street time in, and when I realized the streets was winning, I had to put that down. So I got into photography, picked up a camera, and started shooting some pictures in the community where I was living and things of that sort. And that was in the early 60s. And I used to like to go and shoot in the streets of New York. I lived in New Jersey. And then a lot of the activists, things were happening at that time. One thing that came south later, but they had a Free South African movement going. Got involved with Baraka and the people at the East and back and forth from New York to New Jersey. And I was documenting all of that. And then the Vietnam War thing started. And I got heavily into documenting that. And I was always documenting black music, all right? And that's up until today. That's one of my favorite things to shoot. And they had the civil rights thing going on and everything. And when Dr. King was assassinated in '68, I had started going to New York Institute of Photography. And I had met Gordon Parks Jr., and he introduced me to his father. And I was always pestering him to death about any little thing. But anyway, when Dr. King was assassinated, I went down to Gordon's office. Gordon was the creative director for Essence. A lot of people didn't know that, but he was. All right. And so I was over in his office one day, and I said, you know, they're talking now, free at last, free at last. I said, we ain't free. I said, I'm just going to document us for 10 years. He said, well, James, he knew I didn't like James, but I accepted it from him. He says, well, James, he says, you sound like you got a plan. He said, but your ass is going to starve. He said, nobody's going to pay you to just run around shooting what you want to shoot. I said, no, but I'm going to school at the New York Institute of Photography on the GI Bill. I'm going to get a piece of paper, and I'm going to teach photography. Any of my students here, stand up. Any of my students in here? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, they're hiding. There's some of them hidden. But anyway, the whole idea then became that I just wanted to document us from a cultural perspective, and I was documenting human rights. That was really important to me, to document all of the different various kinds of rallies and marches and so on and so forth. And so that's what I've done. I used to take students when I was at the neighborhood art, well, let me put that in perspective. I was shooting a political rally in Washington, D.C. in 1976. And I was shooting some pictures of Maynard Jackson and Johnny Ford. And Jesse Jackson. And so Maynard, when I was finished, Maynard said, you look like you know what you're doing with that camera. What else do you do? You know, like shooting pictures wasn't a real job, you know. And I said, well, I run an arts organization in New Haven, Connecticut, and I teach photography. He said, well, you need to come to Atlanta. He says, because I just started an arts organization there, and we need people, you know, who know something about that and are doing teaching, photography, and all those things. So when I was living in New Haven, Connecticut at the time, and I was working in a program at Yale, and I told my wife about it. She said, well, let's go look. So we came down and looked and decided to come down. That was in 1976. So I came down here. They had someone teaching photography at the Neighborhood Arts Center. But I started volunteering there, and I became director of audiovisual communications at the Federation of Southern Cooperatives. And after a year, then I became a photographer in residence at the Neighborhood Arts Center, and I was volunteering at the Federation. And so I started taking my students to marches, rallies, and things all over the South and wherever else. And here I am. That hasn't stopped.
Doing the mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Today I learned that Tina Dunkley sings. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to start there. I am sitting between and among legends either in the making or completely in our city, and it is such an honor to sit here as a visual artist among them. In particular because I spent most of my career curating and learning in their, in their presence of their greatness as curators and arts administrators and producers and arts administrator over the Neighborhood Arts Center, and to just be here. I just want to start and acknowledge that by also coming to a new admiration for Tina Dunkley, because she's a vocalist too. I did not know that, and feel free to sing, Tina. I mean, feel free.
Stay on point.
I'm sorry.
On point.
I'm here.
Get back to the
yes,
point.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so I started my artistic career as an arts administrator for Fulton County, working for the National Black Arts Festival. And at that time, the board of the National Black Arts Festival included Shirley Franklin, Camille Love, Curly Dossman, Ingrid Saunders Jones. Just the Atlanta arts, just leadership and citywide civic leadership was all committed to the movement of black art back then. And it was life-changing as a young arts professional to be in that environment. We were in the lobbies of the hotel was, Maya Angelou having a heated debate with, Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee. That was just a normal scene those years and during those times. And to see all of the artists assemble from all over the world and descend into our city and take over our streets and in our black communities at Greenbrier Mall, those places, sacred times and spaces. So it was from that foundation that much of my work became grounded in art activism and wanting to affect change in communities in order to uplift black narratives. And I had the distinct pleasure of many years later of working here at Spelman College. And at the time that I was here, I only have a bachelor's degree. I don't want to say only, but I have a bachelor's degree. I don't have a master's or a PhD, and I remember the Ayoka Chinzira trusting me with the students to teach art and drawing. And some of my students are here who are now professionals in their careers. And I led to a class in art entrepreneurship. But during that time, I had a chance to really just ground my creative practice out of an HBCU. Life-changing, another pivot for me. I've always worked in community, and I had a chance to do murals all over the city as a protest almost and resistance to the NFL coming. I got a chance to do a mural of Ruby Doris Smith Robinson down near here on Ralph David Abernathy and MLK. And many murals since, Ella Baker. I've been able to lift up the names of ancestors as monuments in the city, preserving black narratives, which ultimately led to me having a chance to do a praise house, again, to uplift black narratives, but at Oakland Cemetery, where they discovered 879 unmarked graves in the African-American burial grounds. So we put a praise house there, and that was amazing and really affected, I think, at a really critical time for our city, especially as history is being erased in public spaces and in education environments, that we could affect change by resisting that, by remembering our ancestors that were once lost. And that has become a movement for me. We're going to replicate that Praise House in multiple communities. We went on to receive a National Endowment for the Arts grant. And I say we because I create in ritual, in community, in collaboration, and I have an amazing team of collaborators that created this work with me. And we create often, even still, from this space of remembering. We center the ring shout, a traditional African worship practice where we were remembering ourselves then. And from African ceremony, but it was born during enslavement here. And it affects most of our contemporary Black movement culture, the ring shout, it does. So we create ring shouts in technology as sort of an Afrofuturistic statement too. And recently we had a chance to do that at the Apollo Theater and then at Penn Center, Sacred Space, Penn Center. We reclaimed the Chapel of Ease and projected a ring shout around the audience. And this all happens when the sun sets, so that's even a whole thing. And anyway, my work changed also because I went to the Gambia to visit and got stranded during quarantine and was there for 14 months and used the time as an artist in residence. And like all my career, reflected on our ancestors and our Blackness, but now in our homeland, in our motherland, Africa. And all of that happening while Black Lives Matter is raging and folks is climbing up the Capitol walls and that kind of thing. I, again, became an artist activist by painting myself, actually, and making my own statement of Black life mattering, by creating totemic images of myself, self-portraits in indigo there, as I followed what I called the ancestral memories encoded into my DNA, my cultural DNA, recalling the tradition of ring shouting in my family, remembering my ancestors, my great-grandmother, Fuquay. I followed folks doing similar movements and found the traditions there and traces of what I could tell where my family came from. That exhibition is up right now at the Carlos Museum. I hope you get a chance to see it. Tina Dunkley.
Charmaine Minifield. I tell you, first of all, let me thank the organizers, the Atlanta University Center, Woodruff Library, for putting this event together. I had no idea what it was going to be like. And then, of course, the curatorial team, Liz Andrews and Martina, and I don't know who else was involved, but Loretta Parham. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And it's a very intense, nostalgic moment for me. First, as I reflect upon meeting Charmaine back in circa 1994, 95, when she looked exactly like this. If you're watching me, I'm just sitting here marveling. I said, how? She has definitely reached out to her ancestors, and they have responded. They have responded, and I'm telling you, we say black don't crack, but I'm telling you, exemplary, because and how old are your daughters?
Oh, I have a 27-year-old and a 25.
Okay, now.
49.
Okay. I mean, just in any case. So it's amazing. Yeah, indigo. So, and it's very nostalgic because my moment, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, West Indian parents, spent a lot of time at the Brooklyn Museum, did my internships while I was at the School of Visual Arts, majoring in painting and sculpture at the Brooklyn Museum's Education Department and also at the Metropolitan Museum's Education Department. So I was really steeped in this art museum realm, as well as performance with the Dunham company, dancing like mad at between ages 13 and 16, performing in opera and that kind of thing, dancing. So I had a really rich background, but somehow when I read this New York Times article, which I will never forget, cover story, Sunday magazine, Atlanta, town of black is bountiful, I was like, I gotta go there. And there was a, it was like an 8-page spread with Maynard Jackson, and I was just totally entranced by the whole thing. And not until recently did I figure out that I actually read that article and I was here within 2 months of that. I thought it was like 6 months. I didn't even realize I had moved that swiftly. Not knowing where I was going, didn't know nobody, just came in. I was like, I need this. Because I felt that I had been, I just didn't have the information I wanted about people of African descent, and I needed to understand that. So fast forward, here I am now, having stumbled into the Clark Atlanta's, then Atlanta University's permanent collection in the basement, and just meeting all these incredible people around the country, interviewing Catlett and Bearden and all these different people who were instrumental in that exhibition. Hale Woodruff, didn't get to meet Hale, I don't know how I missed that, but anyway. So now, I remember when I went for my master's degree at Atlanta University, I remember a student saying to me in the School of Business, "Oh, you're majoring in African American Studies? Well, you're not planning on making any money, obviously." And it stayed with me, and I said, well, I'm following my spirit. I can't do anything else. But so I spent all of those years, in the administrative realm, arts administration, curating, producing programs for the Olympics, going into Brazil, doing projects there with Kellogg Foundation. And now, then all of a sudden, I would bump into this information that has taken me down a rabbit hole of ancestral memory, just by following this information in the family that my brother had the mindset to record. And I'm thinking, so I did the exhibition, I produced the exhibition, The Sanctuary for the Eternal Enemy, based on the War of 1812 and my people being involved in that war. And then as recent, now that was in that was 2019, and that started in 2008-9. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm taking a break. And then I get a call just the other day from England. There's a film company that's doing Drain the Oceans. It's a Disney National Geo production. They want to do something on the War of 1812 in the Chesapeake Bay. And they want a human, the human story to attach to that. And I'm just like, how does this stuff evolve? It's like there really are ancestors working on the other side, because I'm saying to myself, so I'm just on this trail. That's all I can say. And my art is sort of on a back burner. I am doing things, but I'm quietly, but I'm more in the scholarly mode, doing a program with Emory University and Benny Andrews, Alice Walker, and Flannery O'Connor. So, yeah. I just want to thank, the main reason why I told you that, I just want to say this. I'm inebriated with Atlanta's black culture. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is such an honor. You gave me exactly what I came here to get 48 years ago.
Yes.
Can you hear me? I'll be very remiss if I didn't say that I spent 6 years as photographer in residence at Clark College. And I didn't quite get up to that point, but that was an amazing experience. Yeah, I came here to do 6 months, I think for 6 months. And then it went to 2 years, and then it went to 4 years, and then my friend Charles Stevens and Dr. Frank Johnson asked me to just stay and continue documenting the merger between Clark and Atlanta University. And I stayed until the day they cut the ribbon out there, and then I went on about the rest of my life. But it was an amazing thing, and I've never forgotten that. I used to have a studio downstairs where the television studios are now. I had a house over there for a studio one time on the street where the new building is there. So it was a good time, and at that same time, I was teaching in the Upward Bound program, and you name it. I was doing whatever they needed me to do, but it was a very enjoyable time.
Anything else you want to add? No pressure.
It's funny. I think a lot of us are talking about the spirituality and how part of the journey is just being present and allowing what's happening around you to move through you. And it's funny because it feels like I'm preaching to the choir, just hearing everybody else's experience with this space and what the AUC has done in the city in general. And it's a little, it's interesting. Sorry, keep going.
Thank you for that. I noticed that as well. I'm sure we all kind of picked up on the fact that everyone here has kind of talked about ancestors, whether it be, in a kind of more abstract sense, knowing that there are people out there, or I know with Tina, you, Sir Ezekiel Landley, you've done work around a specific ancestor. You're using ancestral fabrics as inspiration. Many of the people Jim has documented are now in the ancestral realm. So that's a really beautiful thing, and I want to just acknowledge something all of you have said, how important the AUC, Spelman, Clark, Morehouse has been in supporting artists and teaching artists. And so it's beautiful to be in this space and have this conversation. And I also want to recognize the two other ladies up here that, both of you are makers and also have really done so much as arts administrators, really lifting up other artists through organizations and spaces. And Jim, with your teaching, it's amazing also to see that the practice of an artist is not always just about making. It's about making sure that other people have access to art, have education about art. So thank you for all of the different types of work that you do. We'll do a Q&A with the audience, but I want to ask one question, because all of you came to Atlanta at different moments in your life and now are very much rooted here. And I'm new to Atlanta. I've been here less than a year and I'm loving it. And I think, Tina, what you said about reading that article and then being here 2 months later is so powerful. And I'll tell you, I was in Los Angeles before this, and you can feel the energy radiating from Atlanta when it comes to the arts. You can feel it around the country. And so I'm curious what you all think is important to share in this space, in this room, about Atlanta and Atlanta's contribution to the arts and African American history right now.
They're looking my way. I had something else on my mind, and I'm not sure if this is really going to be a direct answer, but I really did want to say this, and I'm hoping some of the the people who really need to hear this can, well, everyone needs to hear this, but they can do something about it. But certainly at the university levels, because that's where we are. That's what I was really thinking about. There is a dire need. It is so important for administrations, president, vice president, the board of trustee members really need to be with the program of supporting the arts in terms of its connection to the curriculum. That's something that a mantra that I'm not going to leave, because when there aren't people that are behind the creative act at these institutions, it sort of falls really flat. And so, I would encourage anyone that's on a serious academic track to even look toward becoming a president, getting on a board to really make sure that certain kinds of activities and events really move forward. And yes, there's been that here in the center. We have, Clark Atlanta at different levels, different periods of the centuries too. That's the other thing when you think about the annuals running from the 40s to the 70s. But then, he moves out, Hale Woodruff moves out, but you have Spelman College, very active in terms of programming and promoting. Marketing is everything. And so I really wanted to speak to the center, to the AU Center. As it relates to Atlanta, the film industry, we're talking about Hollywood is here. So now, I don't know what they call it. There's Bollywood and Nollywood. I don't know, what are they calling Atlanta? Do they have an Ollie something on it yet? But they should. We ought to be thinking about that. But clearly, it's rapidly changing, and I can't speak to the music end of it, which is huge. I know it's huge. So that's all I have to say.
I think that, Atlanta has always sort of been on the forefront of all major social justice movements in the nation, and that's been basically our cause from emancipation to Reconstruction to all the way to, the Civil Rights Movement. We've been at that edge, and the arts have always been present in playing a role in that. And I think that now I don't separate the entertainment, like Tina just did the same thing. I don't separate the entertainment industry from the arts. So film is what that is. Music is at that, and on the commercial, consumer and marketing level. These are the major cultural content sources that are exports out of this country come out of Atlanta. Just think about hip hop. Just an example. There's one example. So I think that the arts community and field has always, served that role of moving the idea of Black narratives, Black social justice movements, justice, freedom, all of that, and innovation even forward out into the nation and beyond. And I think that we're in a really pivotal time in history where our voice out of the South means something very important inside of dismantling white supremacy right now. That's what the agenda is right now. And the generations that are here learning are taking up that mantle. And I think that out of the South, especially an HBCU community, or a Black neighborhood like the West End, or a Black city like Atlanta, all of that we are really at a place that we can have some real significant impact. And I don't think that we'll disappoint. We haven't throughout history. So that's what time it is again.
One thing, or another thing, Atlanta, I think beyond what the Atlanta University was doing in the early years, then you had another era that started with the election of Maynard Jackson. And he was very important because he put money where his mouth was in terms of the arts. And even with his election, his first election in 1974, where he was bringing people to town, and he was talking to the colleges, you know, talking to the businesses, Atlanta Life and places like that, and they were bringing people here and starting the Neighborhood Arts Center and making sure that some federal money came here, even though it was CETA money, which wasn't a whole lot, but it was giving some jobs. And a lot of people came from the north, from, you know, John Riddle coming from California, Louis Del Sart coming here. You know, a lot of people through the colleges, you know. Yes, David Hammonds, a lot of people, very, very important artists. And right, and it went into Fulton County. Michael Lomax then became the chairman over there. Got the you know, the arts program going there. Sue Ross had a job in administration, but she was allowed to be the photographer for all the mayors, you know, and still getting her watershed money. Okay, all right. So a lot of cities, you don't have that. You know, Tracy, where did you come from? Biloxi, Mississippi. So, okay. So the arts brought people here, all right, and then and spread us all around. All right.
I'll start off by saying this. I think I'm getting close to have moved here for almost, it's gonna be 19 years soon, but I'm still wary of claiming Atlanta until I hit 20. I feel like, cause there's so many transient people that are doing it real quick, you know what I mean? But I will say this, just to be honest. So after growing up in Ghana, I was kicking and screaming when my family said we were moving here. I was young. So I was like, you're ruining my life, blah, 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 blah. Came out here, went to school and stuff, and I was like, okay, wait, it's not bad. I like this. And then now I love it. The Ghanaian accent comes back in a heartbeat. I'll keep talking in the Ghanaian accent from now on. So, yeah, no, but when I came here, it was bad. I was scared. I was thinking people will shoot you if you look at them directly in the eye if you're in traffic, so don't look at people in the cars. It's going to be scary, rap music, da, da, da. No, but when I came here, this is actually the closest thing that I felt to home outside of Ghana. And going through this program in particular and having mentors like Lindsay Arturo, like Charles Nelson, seeing Fahamu and Karen do what they do, you know what I mean? And get to walk next to Hale Woodruff murals, like you touch them. And then you leave and then you realize how many other people are desperately craving that kind of connection. And while you're here in these spaces, these teachers are not only like rooting for you, but they see you as family members. Mm-hmm. So it's like it's a real like, don't play games. This is not a joke. These are the real people, world-class people doing this. Because everywhere I travel now, I see Fahamu everywhere, and it's like, dude, you're everywhere, bro. Yeah, but when you're here, it's family, you know. And Atlanta has that. It just has that for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know how, but everybody feels it, and everybody's gravitating towards it. Another thing I'll say is, when I was in history of art classes, Lindsay Arturo, oh my God, he's incredible, but he does not let you slack at all. He would reprimand me all the time, but he would always talk about art historically, how artists would all hang out and share space and share poetry and share like all these things that would happen in the background to give you context for this piece that he's going to end up testing you about that we're going to have to learn about. So now you have all this backstory. And I see that happening here. Not like the same way it happened in Harlem, and I know we make a lot of those references and stuff, but musically, poetry-wise, visual art-wise, writing, it's like you bump into people everywhere, and you're just like, if you don't know what you're looking at, like, don't worry, you will later. You know, and Atlanta has that kind of effect, which is kind of cool.
Thank you so much for all of that. I think we can take a single question from the audience, so make it a question. And feel free to, I think there's a mic with Kendall right over here in red with the beautiful afro. So if you have a question you'd like to ask any single panelist or the entire panel, feel free to come on up. Any takers?
Don't be shy.
Good evening. Okay. My name is Jay Del Sart, and thank you so much. As we approach Father's Day, I really feel that Lewis's spirit is in the room. He is just here with us, and I'm just so elated to have been asked to come. It was my Uber driver in a Tesla, all right? Yes, but, and then it rained, but I just, Loretta had said to me, she wanted me to say something about the Visual Arts Initiative at this beautiful building. After the $16 million renovation, Lewis and I were asked to help make something happen in the visual arts space. And so began the initiative. And we called upon our friends, our artists, and the one thing about the artist movement here in Atlanta, no one said to you, oh, I'm a fine artist, oh, I'm a commercial artist. It was the artist movement, the Black artist movement, the families movement. There was no separation of church and state when it came to artists coming together. So the artists that we asked, they answered. William Anderson, who you will see downstairs, and on and on and on. They came, and the library began to build this initiative. And I just want to say, I am just amazed, first of all, to see my friends and my family on the dais. And welcome, Liz, to our family. But most importantly, the vision that Loretta had for this space was that people would come and they would learn. And so we are just so delighted that Toby Martin and Richard Hunt, Tina Dunkley, hopefully all of you on the dais are here represented, Michael Harris, who we want to send love right now, Dr. Michael Harris. Many artists are in this building because the library said, we are building something new. So the question that I have for my friends on the dais, my sisters and my brothers, is, what do you hope to leave behind in the arts community in Atlanta, which is where everything starts now? What is it that you personally would like? What legacy would you like to leave for our students at the Atlanta University Center, as well as the Atlanta community and the world?
Legacy, hello. For me, and I am speaking, hoping to make my elders proud. standing on the shoulders of my ancestors, knowing their cry for justice and freedom, that my life lives in their honor. I would say that my art can affect change, that by being the artist, the griot, the storyteller, the keeper of the traditions of my people, that I know that we can move forward and always progress as within humanity by preserving and positioning your art as that tool for change forward. That's how my work exists, I hope, in community. And I hope that it is an example for others ahead to come.
Since I'm already an elder, I want to make my kids proud and my grandkids. Just had 2 grandkids graduate from high school, going to college. Just had 2 great grand twins. Looking out for them. And so my kids are doing all right. Some of the other people who are interested in the arts and interested in people and everything that have hung around me, and I've dragged them from place to place and idea to idea. I want them to just carry on and drag some people with them.
Louis Delsart was always so welcoming. His door was always open, and he was always ready just to like see how you're doing, what your mood was in. You know what I mean? What are you thinking about? What you working on? Frank Toby Martin did the same thing. He would talk about spirituality first, and he would just make sure you're doing okay before he starts talking about the work and making sure you're. Lindsay Arturo does the same thing. He doesn't like you injure, you cut yourself. He's like, you need your hands. Like you're an artist. You like take care of yourself. And these are people that are thinking about you in a way that like they're invested. And I hope that I learn how to do that in a similar way.
My mind is racing all over the place in terms of legacy. Follow the. Well, yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you, and for that I would thank you for helping me out on that, Susan. But what I wanted to add to that is that. Follow the narratives, the hidden narratives, wherever they might be. That's what I want to say, because there's so much about us that we don't know that's really tied to our souls and our identity. And what Henry Louis Gates is doing, I think, is tremendous in terms of showing you when people learn about from whence they came and what their ancestors did before them. So my whole thing is that there's so many stories to be told. Make sure you tell them, and that is the root of African tradition in terms of carrying on and sharing the narrative, and it holds just as well as words on paper. So yeah.
Thank you everyone so much on the panel, and thank you everyone for being here.